big hill of hope for a destination. There we are, there's Four Non-Blondes and What's Up? Right, so before my guests come in the studio, I thought I'd do I'll Be on the Barricades piece, because I haven't done one in a couple of weeks, to be honest with you. The sorting out the Trans Day of Remembrance event, it takes it out of you. It truly does take it out of you. So, anyway, I'm back. So I'm open to be doing these every week, and I'll tackle a different talking point around the world of transgender variants, etc. Because I'm aware there's a lot of people who are very vocal against the existence of trans people for a million different reasons. And I said before, any sort of rhetoric which seeks to divide communities, as I always feel like history is going to be shown that in the sense of division rather than unity and coming together. And the whole thing about community is all coming together. Anyway, that's by the by. I wanted to do this one today about detransitioning, because detransitioning is often a word we hear. And when we see people on social media who are talking around detransition issues, people maybe who have detransitioned themselves, and they often seem to have found a home with the gender critical elite, the people who feel that we shouldn't exist sort of thing because trans people aren't real. And I know there is actually people out there who believe that as well, I'm as real as it comes. So anyway, that's by the by. So I've got to use personal experience here. So I'm aware of, I've supported well over 500 people going through transition. And I'm fully invested in this area. I'm not one of these people who wants to transition and just integrate into the world as if I was never trans and just that, because I feel there's a space for us all, and I feel we need to be in that space. So I'd say out of well over 500 people that I've sort of supported in one way or another on their personal journeys, I'd say that I'm aware of maybe two cases of somebody detransitioning that I'm aware of. No, possibly three. Yeah, three. So, just to talk from a personal angle, I'd say part of the reason why some people may detransition isn't because they don't feel the trans. It's there's a lot of societal factors out there, and a human being can handle an element of gender dysphoria without feeling the need to go and run to the doctors and go on a 5-year waiting list to try and seek medical help. That's where it is these days, 5 years. There's often family instances, there's quite a prominent voice in this area, Debbie Hayton. And I was supposed to be doing an interview with her, but she's never got back to me once we actually agreed that we'd do it. So yeah, so if that happens, I will get her on the show. But I know when I've read her stuff, she felt an element of guilt and things around the effect that it had on her family. And it's true. When a person transitions, I almost feel as if we are forgetting that families and friends also need support. Because when a person transitions, the people around them, they really need to transition their understanding if they're going to be supportive. So, say for people who are detransitioning for the reason of outside factors, it's too tough, it's too hard, they didn't realise what they signed up for, then we need to make sure that those people have support. And I know from from knowing lots and lots and lots of trans people, that if somebody detransitions, the community that they were part of generally doesn't shun them, doesn't turn the back on them whatsoever. But what we find is that if you were previously going through your own transition and you were really supportive of trans issues and your trans community, if you will, then when you decide to no longer transition, when you decide to go back over, then I almost get the feeling that it'd be really difficult for a person who's detransitioning to stay in the same community with the same positive angle and heart and aim towards other people who are transitioning. So from a stress viewpoint, people, we want to go back. And I was 10 years on my journey. And Emma will tell you, I was constantly questioning myself all the way through, even up to the day before I had my surgery. I feel we need a critical friend, and sometimes that critical friend has to be ourselves. So if at any point in time over the 10 years when I questioned my transition, why am I transitioning? Is this right for me? Because we only get one life. And obviously being authentic is the aim. So for me, it was a case of, like, it always stood up. You see, when I first started this road, what happened was I actually wrote a list of positives and negatives. And on the negative side, it was, well, you'll get disowned by your family. That happened in the main. Well, not all, but some did. And still to this day, I'm sort of like the family embarrassment. And, you know, like whatever the reasons may be put forward. I know, like in my particular instance, it was put forward by somebody that I didn't go to my brother's funeral. So that's why I was like, that's why nobody wants to know me. But I couldn't go to my brother's funeral because I was told that if I went, I had to go dressed as a man. And I just couldn't do that. So I actually, like, you know, I made my own arrangements to remember and to honour the passing of my brother, which included going into hospital to see him the night before he passed as well, because we knew it was happening. But, you know, I think to myself, I'm thinking, you know, I've gone off on a tangent there, but I'm just trying to give you some of the reasons, like, why like people do get disowned as well, because there can be protracted reasons in other areas, you know. But if you were to sort of like be in a peer group and there was a lot of your friends transitioning, coming out as non-binary, and you thought to yourself, yeah, that sounds like me, and you joined them. And then if in a year, in 2 years, in 3 years' time, if you were questioning yourself and then it comes to the point of where you think it's not the right decision for you, then you owe it to yourself to listen to you, and you owe it to yourself to stop your perceived transition if you feel as if that isn't your life. Because there's decisions that get made that can't be gone back on, you know, and having a personal responsibility over one's own self is really important. It really is. So when I speak sometimes with young people who are coming out as trans, and I always say to them, I say, look, how you feeling today is totally valid. And I understand some people, young people, may come out as non-binary, and that may be a safe space stopping point while they're working themselves out. But they may end up staying in that safe space stopping point, or they may realise that is actually their identity, and that's fine as well. But I do say to these people that I support, I say, look, you know, you can't let your friends lead you by the hand and tell you you've got to do this, that and the other. You know, you can't have people pulling you back and saying you can't be who you say you are. But also, you need to, and I said to them, I said, look, set yourself a date in the diary, 6 months, 3 months' time, and sit and like have a constant check-in with yourself. Is this right for you? And if it isn't, then you need to be brave enough and strong enough to actually say, this isn't for me, and go back. And you're able to go back and still keep your whole positivity towards other people's transition. Because I'm with Soren Kierkegaard on this one. Personal truth is so important. If your personal truth directs you down a certain road, nobody can tell you that's not the right road for you, because that is your personal truth. That said, I feel as if we're almost turning a blind eye when people transition, because they might go off the radar. And I know a few people that have transitioned, detransitioned, transitioned back, detransitioned back, backwards and forwards. And sometimes we end up in ever-decreasing circles, which can take us down a dark road. I direct you to the case of Chelsea Atherley for more information of what can happen in that area. Chelsea detransitioned and retransitioned a few times, and Chelsea is sadly no longer with us today. I feel mental health support, we need to be affirming to the people wherever they are at. Obviously, with counselling and with psychotherapy, we work with people to make sure that they are, like, you know, they've considered different things, because I believe the truth stands up to all shades of light. But if someone decides they need to detransition, then I think it's an absolute crying shame that like LGBT organisations don't actually have a place or a space within their organisation for people who are detransitioning. You know, and like I don't know of any. You know, I know there's an LGBT organisation in our area, and I'm not sure what they do in that area, because they've had me blocked on Twitter for the past 5 years for having an opinion. But it's okay, you know something, we all have opinions, and all opinions, as long as they're your own opinion, then you're okay. So I just feel as if when people do detransition, if they detransition, which is very rare, when you look at the vast majority, so in the people I've known, it's been 0.3%, is it? 0.3% that have detransitioned. And I can tell you so many more people that are so happy and feel that their transition has actually saved their life. There's room for everybody. And there's also room for people who realise they may have made a mistake and detransition isn't for them. So I know there isn't a lot of support out there. And the support that seems to be out there is coming from gender critical groups who are pretty much just, you know, like signing people up to be poster people to tell other people that they aren't allowed to be who they are. You know, your truth is as important as my truth is to me. And I think we do need to sort of remember that a little bit. You know, if you're detransitioning, if you're thinking of detransition, if you like support with detransitioning, then don't feel as if you're alone. I support people in loads of different areas. It was only 3 days ago I had somebody phone me up from Shepherd's Bush in London, and it was a case of anywhere, so like, they were in a really bad situation, and I ended up getting them off to Birmingham so they could get proper support and that. You know, if like, it doesn't matter what the problem is, you need to feel as if you've got support. And if you're considering detransition and you haven't got support, then give me a shout. You know, you can contact me on any of the social medias. I'm more than happy to sit and have a cup of tea and a chat about detransition and about ways forward. Because, you know, like, if I was living my life for so many years and then I detransitioned, I wouldn't be able to go back exactly to the life that I knew before transition, to the place that I knew was the reason why I felt I needed to transition in the first place. You know, so you'd be going back to a different place, and that place can take some navigating in the same way as coming out in transition can do with some navigating. So my door's always open, and I know other amazing people in my area of work who would also be there to positively support people who wanted to detransition. Because at the end of the day, the concept about free to be me has to mean something. Any one of us can be bullied or discriminated for being who we are today. Until we're all truly free to be ourselves, we're never going to create that safe, more inclusive world that benefits us all. And we're never going to have a fully inclusive world, because we have to leave space for people to tell us that they're feeling on the outside. And if the reason you're feeling on the outside is because you've chosen to detransition, please get in touch. And it would be my pleasure to help. I can link you up with services, mental health services, all that. I can do one-to-one. I do advocacy, all of that type of stuff. And I just think it's so important that people who are detransitioning aren't just used as a weapon. You know, don't have your detransition weaponized to pour more scorn and hatred on an already tough, marginalized community. You know, realize there is support out there, and we're all free to be ourselves. I'm going to leave that, and we're going to have a nice little song now. So what a song I think we should have, which is quite good for this section, I think. It's a bit of Oasis, and it's The Master Plan. Right. don't forget, you contact me if you are detransitioning. Drop me an email, ellilowther21@gmail.com. Happy to support. Right, while the song's playing, yeah, I'm hoping to put these up every week. So like obviously it goes out live on my show, and if I've got charge on my phone, I'll do this and then I'll pop this up onto YouTube. So take care, everybody. Stay safe.